Welcome back everyone. So today I'm going to be running through how to use the choose button on your calculator to solve some problems and make binomial expansion a bit easier. So the first thing to mention is that obviously not all calculators are the same, but generally you're going to press the shift button up here and there should be a button around here that has NCR above it, which is your choose button. And what that allows you to do is quickly find numbers within Pascal's triangle. So I'll write an example right now. So what I've got here is 8 choose 3. So what that means is you go down to the row that contains 8 and you count 0, 1, 2, 3. Because remember here we start with 0. So this will end up on 56 without you even needing to write out the triangle. And sure enough, if you put that in your calculator, it will come back with 56. This is probably one of the easiest questions that you'll get for this, but it's not that easy to demonstrate because there's literally no workings. You just have to type it into your calculator, which is a good thing. But if you put in 5 choose 2 into your calculator doing what we were saying before, you'll get 10. This one you're not even going to need a calculator for because little trick here, anything choose 0, even 0 choose 0 is just 1. Okay? And 10 choose 4, put that into your calculator, it should come back with 210. So I would say that's probably the easiest question you're going to get in this topic, but it only gets harder from here. So we've got a trickier question here that says the coefficient of x squared in the expansion of mx plus 2 to the power of 6 is 540. Work out the two possible values of m. So what I would be doing here is thinking what numbers do I have to use for the choose button on my calculator, and it is pretty easy. You just have to take this number, that's your first number, and whatever coefficient it's asking you for, whatever the power is, that's your second number. So 6 choose 2, which is 15. Now remember, it's just asking you for x squared, but because of what we see here, if we know that x squared is here, then we know that m has to also be squared, so we're going to write that out. And because we have this x squared here, we know that the two powers have to add up to 6, and we're not including this m squared here, just to be clear. So that means that it has to be 2 to the power of 4. So I'm going to write this out in a way that's a little bit easier to read. Okay, so now that we've got to this stage, we have to remember that all of this is a coefficient of x squared, and we know that the coefficient is 540. So we know that 15 times 16 times m squared is 540, which lets us solve for it. Then using your calculator, divide by 240 both sides. And then remember, not only is it a square number, but the question is also asking you specifically for the two possible values of m. So when we square root this, we're going to get a positive and a negative version. So after figuring that out, we can see that our two solutions are positive 1.5 and minus 1.5. So here we've got a slightly different question, but we're going to work it out in the exact same way. We're going to see the 5 up here and the 3 here. So we're going to think 5 choose 3. So 5 choose 3 is going to be 10. And similarly to last time, because we have the x cubed here, you'd think it'd be just x cubed here. But remember, it's got a 2 next to it, and we're going to cube that as well. So it's going to turn out to be 8x cubed. And once again, because the 3 has to add to something to get to this 5 up here, we know that it's going to be 2. So a squared. Now I'm going to write it out in a easier to read way. Now at this point you may be noticing how similar it was to what I did in the last episode, if you will, and that's because, yeah, it is really similar. So we know that over here 80a squared is equal to 160 because it's the coefficient of x cubed. So once again, solve for that. Divide both sides by 80. And then we're going to square root it, and yeah, we're going to get a third, but it's not that bad. Don't forget plus or minus because it's asking for two possible values. So that's going to be it for the binomial expansion topic. So I hope that helped, and I'll see you in the next part.